Imagine looking into the eyes of someone you deeply care about, someone you've shared your home with, only for them to tell you that your own children ruined their vibe. That's exactly what happened to me, and the two calm, deliberate words I spoke next ended everything right then and there. The silence that followed her chilling confession felt heavier than any argument we'd ever had, settling like a thick, suffocating fog in my once happy living room. The Sunday evening quiet, usually reserved for winding down, was now charged with an unbearable tension, a cold realization washing over me. In that moment, Chloe Peterson didn't just sign her own eviction notice from my house, she signed her way right out of my life. And when it finally hit her that she was the one leaving, not my kids, she tried every manipulation trick in the book to backpedal. This all happened just a few weeks ago, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around how someone I thought I knew could look me dead in the eye and say my own children were an inconvenience. But here we are. And honestly, watching her face crumple when she realized she had absolutely zero leverage was almost worth the 8 months I wasted on her. My name is Liam Hayes. I'm 35, and I've been a single dad to Noah and Mia for about 3 years now. Noah just turned 8, Mia's 6, and they are, without question, everything to me. Their mom, Sarah, and I split when Mia was 3. There was no drama, no big fights. We just grew apart. We decided co-parenting was better than forcing something broken, and we do 50-50 custody, 1 week on, 1 week off. It works because we both prioritize the kids over our egos. I work in project management, own my 3-bedroom house in the suburbs, and my life is pretty much soccer games, homework help, and bedtime stories. You know, typical dad life. About 8 months ago, I met Chloe Peterson on a dating app. She was 29, a lifestyle influencer of some sort, into fitness, aesthetic coffee photos, all that Instagram culture stuff. At first, she seemed fun, low-key, someone to grab dinner with or hit up weekend brunch when my kids were at Sarah's. For the first few months, it was casual, easy, no pressure, no complications. Then, around month 4, Chloe started hinting she wanted more time together. She said my custody schedule made planning hard. She suggested maybe she could stay over more often. I thought about it, figured having someone around might be nice sometimes, so I let her keep some stuff at my place. Not a full move-in, just enough that she was sleeping over most nights. That's when I started noticing things. First, it was little comments, subtle observations about toys on the floor, how the house felt chaotic when Noah and Mia were home, how maybe we could organize things better. Then she started buying stuff. New throw pillows, matching white mugs to replace my random collection, candles everywhere, like she was staging the place for her Instagram grid. I let it slide. I figured she just liked things neat. But the comments got sharper. She'd sigh dramatically when the kids were loud, roll her eyes when Noah forgot his backpack by the door. And one time, she straight up asked if they had to be there every single week, like custody was negotiable. I shut that down hard. I told her the schedule wasn't up for discussion. She backed off, saying she was just tired. But I could feel the tension, a thick, uncomfortable presence every time Noah and Mia were home. Chloe would suddenly have plans with her friends Jessica, Emily, and Ashley, or she'd lock herself in the bedroom filming content. Anything to avoid actually interacting with my kids. She never asked about their day, never played with them, never truly tried. She just tolerated their existence because she wanted access to me. What I didn't know, what I wouldn't find out until a few days later, was what she was doing when I wasn't around. The little comments she'd make to them. The pointed sighs when Noah asked her a question. The way she'd ignore Mia when she wanted to show her a drawing. I had no idea she was planting poison in their heads, telling them Daddy seemed stressed when they visited. Maybe they should be quieter. Maybe they were too much. Manipulative garbage designed to make 2 innocent little kids feel like they were a burden to their own father. But I didn't know that yet. I just knew something felt deeply wrong, and I was starting to regret letting her move in, even partially. Then came the Sunday that ended everything. The kids were at Sarah's for the week, and Chloe was on the couch with a glass of wine, scrolling her phone, completely relaxed. I was cleaning up the kitchen, just thinking about work stuff. A normal evening, or so I thought. Then she just casually dropped it. Maybe the kids could come around less, like once a month instead of every week, so we'd have more couple time. I stopped mid-dish, turned around, and asked her to repeat that. She doubled down. Said it would be better for our relationship if Noah and Mia weren't around so much. Said the house felt more like ours when it was just us. Then she dropped the absolute nuke. She told me she didn't like my kids from my previous marriage. Said they ruined our vibe. She said it like she was suggesting we order pizza instead of cooking. The room went silent. I put down the dish, dried my hands, and walked over to where she sat. She looked up with this expectant, almost triumphant face, like she actually thought I'd consider it. Like my children were furniture I could just rearrange for her comfort. I looked at her, right into her eyes, and I said 2 words. I hear you. I said it calm. No emotion. Just a chilling clarity. She smiled. She actually smiled. She thought I was agreeing. She started talking, excitedly, about how we could make it work, how maybe the kids could stay at Sarah's more often. That's when I finished it. We're done. Chloe, you need to move out. Her face went from happy, to confused, to utterly panicked in about 3 seconds flat. She backpedaled immediately. Said she didn't mean it like that. Said she was just communicating. Said I was overreacting. I told her she said exactly what she meant. And anyone who sees my kids as a problem doesn't belong in my life. She tried arguing, pulling the classic relationships need compromise card. I told her this wasn't negotiable. She didn't get to bargain away my children's place in their own home. That's when reality truly hit her. She wasn't staying. She was leaving. She looked around the living room, her eyes darting from object to object, like she suddenly realized none of this was hers. She asked if I was seriously kicking her out. I told her, this is my house. I owned it before I met you. And you are the one leaving. Not Noah. Not Mia. You. She cried. Said I was cruel. Said she just needed time to adjust. I told her she had 30 days to find a place. I'd give her legal notice in the morning, and we were done. She spent the rest of the night trying to change my mind. But I slept in Noah's room, door locked, surrounded by his superhero posters and glow-in-the-dark stars, and I felt more peace than I had in months. The next morning, I printed a formal 30-day eviction notice and left it on the kitchen counter. Chloe came downstairs, saw the paperwork. Her face went white. She asked if I was serious, and I told her I'd never been more serious in my life. My kids come first, always have, always will, and anyone who doesn't get that doesn't belong here. The eviction notice sat on my counter for exactly 4 hours before Chloe decided she wasn't leaving without a fight. And that's when my house turned into a war zone. She came downstairs Monday morning, saw the paperwork, and instead of apartment hunting, she poured herself coffee and told me she wasn't going anywhere until she was ready, like she had any say in the matter. I didn't argue. I just forwarded the notice to her email for a paper trail and went to work. That week was my week without the kids. Noah and Mia were at Sarah's, and honestly, I was glad they wouldn't witness what was coming. I got home that evening to find Chloe had rearranged the living room, moved furniture like she was claiming territory, and invited Jessica and Emily over for wine, like this was still her house. I walked past them without a word, went straight to my office, opened Excel, and started documenting everything: dates, times, behaviors, potential damages, anything that might matter in court. Her friends left around 9 o'clock, looking incredibly uncomfortable. Chloe came to my office door, asking if we could talk like adults. I told her the eviction notice said everything that needed to be said. She slammed the bedroom door hard enough to shake the walls. Next morning, I changed the Wi-Fi password. Not out of spite, just logic. She wasn't a resident anymore. She was a guest with an expiration date, and guests don't get full utility access. She lost it when her phone wouldn't connect. She came downstairs screaming about me being petty and cruel. I calmly explained the internet bill was in my name, paid by me, and she could get her own hotspot if she needed one. She called me every name she could think of, said her followers needed her to post content, and I just went back to making breakfast. That's when the sabotage started. My coffee tasted weird Tuesday morning, and when I checked the machine, I found salt mixed in the grounds, just enough to ruin it, but not obvious. I took photos, logged it in my spreadsheet, and bought new coffee that I kept locked in my office. A few days later, my laptop cable was cut, a clean slice through the cord. I asked Chloe about it. She said maybe it just wore out. I ordered a replacement, added the cost to my damage total, started keeping all electronics in my locked office. Then came the notes. Passive-aggressive messages left around the house. One on the bathroom mirror, scrawled in lipstick, read, "You'll regret this." Another on the fridge said, "Your kids will always remember you chose to be alone." I photographed every single one before throwing them away. Wednesday evening, still my week without the kids, Sarah called, sounding worried. She said Mia had asked if Daddy was mad at them, if they were too loud, if that's why Chloe didn't like them. My stomach dropped. Sarah explained both kids had been saying things over the past few weeks, little comments they'd made about their time at my house. Mia told her that Chloe said Daddy gets tired when they're around, and maybe they should play quieter so I wouldn't be stressed. Noah mentioned that Chloe told him I seemed happier during the weeks they were gone, that maybe they were too much work for me. Sarah said one afternoon Mia asked her if kids from previous marriages were harder to love than kids from current marriages. And that question broke Sarah's heart because she knew exactly where it came from. I felt physically sick. While I was at work, thinking everything was fine, Chloe had been poisoning my children's perception of themselves and of me, making them feel like burdens in their own father's house. Sarah had already talked to both of them, reassured them it was all lies, that I loved having them around, that Chloe was just being cruel. I told Sarah about the breakup and the eviction, and she actually laughed, said it was about time, that she'd never trusted Chloe, but didn't want to overstep. That phone call changed everything. I went from wanting Chloe out to needing her gone immediately. But legally, I was stuck with the 30 days unless she did something major. Thursday, I came home to 2 cop cars in my driveway. My heart pounded, thinking something terrible had happened. Turns out Chloe called them, said I was holding her hostage, that I'd locked her in and taken her keys. A complete lie, but dramatic enough to get a response. The officers were professional, asked for my side of the story, and I showed them the eviction notice, the emails, all my documentation. I explained she was free to leave anytime, she just didn't want to. One cop actually rolled his eyes and said they get these calls more than people think. They confirmed Chloe had her phone, her keys, access to leave whenever she wanted, and left. She looked absolutely ridiculous standing there, and I watched it click for her that manipulation wasn't going to work with law enforcement either. That weekend, Chloe threw what she called a self-care gathering, invited Jessica, Emily, and Ashley for a girls' night. They showed up Friday evening with wine and portable speakers, set up in my living room like they owned it, and started blasting music around 8 o'clock. I gave them until 9 o'clock. Then I walked to the breaker box and flipped the circuit for the main floor. Everything went dark. The music died. Confused voices erupted everywhere. Then I went in my office, pulled up bagpipe music on my phone, connected my Bluetooth speaker, and cranked the volume to max. Scottish war pipes filled the entire house at a level that made conversation impossible. Within 20 minutes, all 3 friends had grabbed their stuff and left. Chloe came screaming over the music, but I just pointed at my noise-canceling headphones and kept working. She gave up around midnight. I turned off the pipes and slept in Noah's room again. Door locked. Perfectly peaceful. Sunday morning, I woke to phone notifications, messages asking if I was selling my TV, coffee table, dining chairs. Confused, I checked Facebook Marketplace and found my furniture listed from Chloe's account. Priced way below value. Must go today, with photos from inside my house. I reported the listings immediately, messaged every potential buyer explaining the items weren't for sale, and she didn't own them, then confronted her. She was making breakfast like nothing happened, and when I showed her the screenshots, she just shrugged, said she needed deposit money for a new place. I told her if she tried selling anything else, I'd file a police report for theft. She finally seemed to understand I wasn't playing. That afternoon, I sat her down one final time. I laid out her options. Leave peacefully by this coming Sunday, just 6 days away, and I'd waive damages and give a neutral landlord reference. Or stay the full 30 days, and I'd pursue every dollar in court, plus make sure every landlord knew why she was moving. Her face went pale. She tried to argue, but I cut her off. The choice was hers. She had until midnight to decide. Monday morning, she told me she'd be out by Sunday. Sunday morning, I was up at 6 o'clock, made coffee, and sat on my front porch watching the sunrise with a calm I hadn't felt in months. Today was eviction day. The day Chloe Peterson would finally leave my house and my life. I wasn't helping, wasn't negotiating, just making sure she took only what was hers. She started moving boxes around 7, slamming doors and dragging furniture like she wanted me to know how hard this was for her. I stayed on the porch, checked my phone, answered work emails, and completely ignored the performance. Around 9 o'clock, she came out with a box of clothes, shot me a look like she expected sympathy or help, but I just sipped my coffee and watched her load her car. 3 trips later, she emerged with my reading lamp, the one that had been in my living room for 4 years. I stood up. "That's not yours," I told her. She snapped that she'd bought it, that it was a gift, that I was being ridiculous. I pulled out my phone, showed her the Amazon receipt from 2 years before we even met. She threw the lamp on the ground instead. The base cracked on the concrete, and I just took a photo, added it to my documentation without a word. She stormed inside, and I heard things being thrown. Honestly, it was almost funny watching a 29-year-old have a complete meltdown because manipulation wasn't working anymore. Around 11 o'clock, her friend Emily showed up to help. She took one look at the situation, me sitting calm, Chloe rage packing, and I saw the exact moment she realized maybe Chloe's story wasn't entirely accurate. Emily helped load a few boxes. She asked Chloe quietly if she had somewhere to go, and Chloe snapped that she was staying with Jessica. Said it like it was my fault. By noon, most of her stuff was gone. Clothes, toiletries, those white mugs, all the aesthetic junk she'd bought. And I was mentally calculating how much my grocery bill was about to drop. She made one final trip inside, stayed almost 20 minutes, then came back out with mascara running down her face. She walked up to where I stood, tried one last play, told me I was going to be so bored without her, so lonely, that I'd regret this forever. I looked at this woman who'd insulted my children, sabotaged my property, tried to sell my furniture, and lied to the police. I told her something I'd been thinking about for days. I said, bored is an underrated state of being. I'll take quiet and peaceful over dramatic and toxic any day. And the only thing I regret is not ending this the first time you complained about my kids. Her face crumpled. She tried to say something else, but I was done. I told her she had 15 minutes for a final walkthrough. Then I was changing the locks, whether she was finished or not. She grabbed the last box, stormed inside one more time. I heard the bathroom door slam. 14 minutes later, she came out, got in her car without another word, and drove away. I watched her turn the corner, disappear from my street, then went inside. Most of the house looked fine. She'd actually cleaned more than I expected, probably trying to prove some maturity point, but when I checked the upstairs bathroom, I found red nail polish poured and dried in the sink drain. Fresh, maybe an hour old, deliberately hardened, petty vandalism on her way out. I took photos from multiple angles, added it to my spreadsheet, noted to get a repair estimate, called a locksmith, and had all exterior locks changed within 2 hours. I sat in my living room looking at the space she'd occupied for 4 months. It felt bigger, lighter, like the house could breathe again. Monday morning, I filed small claims court paperwork, itemized damages, including the salt-ruined coffee machine, the cut laptop cable, the broken lamp, and the sink repair. It came to about $800. I wasn't sure I'd see the money, but it was the principle of it. Actions have consequences. Chloe needed that lesson. The following Monday, when my custody week started, Sarah dropped off Noah and Mia. The first thing Mia asked, walking in, was if Chloe was still here. I knelt to her level, told her Chloe moved out and wasn't coming back. Relief showed on both kids' faces instantly. Noah asked if they could be loud again, if they could leave their stuff out, if the house was really theirs again. I told them this house had always been theirs. Nothing and nobody would ever change that. Mia hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. Noah just smiled and ran upstairs like he'd been holding back for months. That night we ordered pizza, ate on the couch watching a movie, and left the mess until morning because, finally, we could. After the movie, the kids built a massive pillow fort, used every cushion and blanket we owned, made it structurally unsound and completely chaotic. I helped balance the final pillow on top, knowing it would collapse. We were loud. We were messy. Everything Chloe complained about. And it felt absolutely perfect. Wednesday, I got a notification that Chloe posted on Instagram, some long caption about escaping toxic environments and choosing herself. All the influencer buzzwords, fishing for sympathy. Comments were disabled, which told me she'd gotten backlash before. I didn't bother reading it. A few mutual friends reached out, asking what happened. I gave the short version. She insulted my kids. I ended it. She had to leave. Most understood immediately. A few tried playing both sides, and I let those friendships fade. 2 weeks later, I got a call from an unknown number. Turned out to be Chloe's mom, Karen. She started aggressive, asking how I could do this, saying Chloe was devastated. I let her finish, then calmly explained what her daughter actually said about my children. There was a long pause. Then Karen's tone completely changed. She said something that surprised me. She's always been like this. She said it like she was relieved someone else finally saw it. Karen told me Chloe had a pattern going back to high school. Couldn't handle not being the center of attention. Burned bridges with friends whenever someone else got focus. She mentioned Chloe's college roommate moved out mid-semester because Chloe made her life hell after the roommate got a boyfriend. Another time in her 20s, Chloe sabotaged her best friend's engagement party because she wasn't made maid of honor. Karen said she'd hoped Chloe had matured, but here we are. She apologized for calling angry. Said she didn't know the full story. Wished me and my kids well. 3 months later, early November, I was at the grocery store with Noah and Mia, arguing about whether we needed another gallon of milk. I looked up and saw Chloe, 2 aisles over. She was with some guy, tall, clean-cut, holding her hand while she picked expensive cheese. When she saw me, her whole body tensed. The guy looked vaguely familiar. Then I noticed his ring finger, a clear tan line, the kind from wearing a wedding band for years and recently removing it. Chloe saw me notice, grabbed his arm, and walked the opposite direction without acknowledging us. Mia asked if that was the mean lady who used to live with us. I told her yes, but she wasn't our problem anymore. We finished shopping, went home, made dinner together in our messy, loud, perfectly imperfect house. That night, after the kids went to bed, I sat in the dark living room thinking about everything. Chloe was already with someone else, probably feeding him the same lies, probably already making his life revolve around hers. I felt genuinely sorry for that guy, whoever he was. But mostly, I felt grateful. Grateful I saw who she was before it got worse. Grateful my kids didn't have to grow up thinking they were burdens. Grateful for the boring, quiet, peaceful life we had now. The house was a home again, filled with toy cars and homework and bedtime stories. Bored, it turned out, was exactly what I needed. And my kids deserved a father who would always choose them first. So, I'm curious, if you found yourself in a situation where someone was trying to push your kids out of their own home, what would you have done? Would you have been as patient as I was, or would you have kicked them to the curb even faster? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because honestly, I'm still processing it all.